Good morning to the Honorable Ministers of the Council, members of the media, online viewers, radio listeners via State Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM and respective radio stations island-wide. I'm Rolika Roach and welcome to the Live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, August 28th, 2019. At this time, I invite the Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sport, the Honorable Wycliffe Smith, to address you. Minister Smith.
Thank you very much, Ms. Roach. Greetings to all gathered here this morning, Honorable Prime Minister, Colleague Minister, the Department of Communications, members of the press, as well as all who are listening or viewing this press briefing via media. Good morning, Sualiga. Following on last week's workshop, the Student Support Services Division, the SSSD, will be holding another informative workshop on Thursday, August 29th, 2019, entitled Applying for a U.S. Student Visa or Canadian Study Permit. The workshop, which is free of charge, will be held at the University of St. Martin from 6 to 7 p.m. In this workshop, information will be given on the application process for obtaining a U.S. student visa or a Canadian study permit. Students who are looking to apply to schools in the USA or Canada, or those who already have been accepted to a school in either of these countries, can attend the workshop to receive a step-by-step approach on how to complete the application process. Students who do not own a U.S. passport, U.S. permanent residence, green card, or Canadian passport or Canadian permanent residence are considered international students in the U.S. and in Canada, respectively. Applying for a student visa ties into immigration matters. Therefore, it is essential that students are aware of the procedures and take care in preparing their application. Students and parents are encouraged to contact the Student Support Services Division, 543-1235, for more information or to register for the workshop. They can also visit the Student Support Service Division office, which is located in the Amigo building across from the police station and next to the Windward Islands Bank. Again, I would like to remind the general public that the Ministry of Education, Culture, Youth and Sport, in collaboration with the National Sports Institute, the NSI, and the St. Martin Sports and Creative Industry Open House, the St. Martin Sport and Olympic Federation, is happy to announce that the annual Sports and Creative Industry Open House for the general public takes place on Saturday, September 7th, 2019, from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. at the Raoul Illich Sports Complex. Under the themes Sports Matter and the Arts. And the event is totally free to the public. A word on school closure. Given our current weather situation, with a tropical storm out there in the Caribbean Sea, I know that parents, especially, were wondering whether schools would be open today or not. I just want to put parents and the community at ease that we will not put your children at risk. Together with the Honorable Prime Minister, who is the chairlady of the EOC, the Emergency Operations Center, we monitor the weather, and if, due to heavy rains, rainfall, or flooding, our children will be at risk, then we certainly will announce the closure of schools via the media. Closing of schools is not a decision on its own, but it is also tied into our economy. If schools are closed suddenly, parents who have no one to take care of their small children at home are forced to take certain decisions, like, do I stay at home with my children, or can I take my child to work? They also ask themselves where they, in such a short time, can find someone with whom they can leave their child or their children. Closing schools definitely can disrupt business, companies, banks, even the entire island. And so, under emergency circumstances, you will hear from the Prime Minister if schools and other businesses are to close. Under severe weather conditions, if schools warrant closing, you will hear from the Minister of Education, Culture, Youth, and Sports. So, in situations like these, tune in to the media, and we certainly will ensure that you get the right information. In closing, congratulations to Dion Butte. I wish to congratulate our own basketball player, Dion Butte, who recently secured himself a contract to play professionally in Spain after graduating from Central Connecticut State University. Butte has committed to playing for Hestia Menorca of the LEB Silver League in Spain. Hestia Menorca is the 2018-2019 LEB Silver League champions. We wish Dion much success as he joins this team. We're happy to see this young St. Martiner flourishing in the international sporting arena. Dion, keep flying the St. Martin flag high. We are very proud of you. Thank you very much for watching and listening, and I'll be available for any questions if you may have. Have a pleasant day.
Thank you, Minister Smith, for your opening remarks. At this time, I invite the Prime Minister, Minister of General Affairs, and Acting Minister of Public Health, Social Development, and Labor, the Honorable Leona Romeo Marlin, to address you. Prime Minister.
Good morning to all, my colleagues, members of the press. Good morning, St. Martin. The latest update from the Meteorological Department of St. Martin as of 5 a.m. this morning states that the center of Tropical Storm Dorian was located about 102 miles southwest of St. Martin, moving toward the northwest near 13 miles per hour. On the forecast track, the center of Dorian will pass over or near the U.S. and British Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico today. The center of the tropical storm is expected to move away from St. Martin. However, showers, thunderstorms, and gusty winds are possible from the outer bands of the system. The Meteorological Department of St. Martin will continue to monitor this system and keep the public updated accordingly. As a result, the tropical storm does not pose a significant threat to St. Martin. Dorian is the fourth named storm of the 2019 Atlantic hurricane season. As a point of clarification, and as indicated by the Minister of Education, Culture, Youth, and Sports, let me re-emphasize, schools are open. The decision, as he stated, to close schools in normal circumstances will lie with the Minister of Education, and during severe emergencies, when the EOC is activated, then the public will hear from the Prime Minister. All decisions taken are done in consultation with the professionals that comprise of the EOC and are in the best interest of the entire country. I would like to thank the EOC members who attended the meeting held on Sunday afternoon. Your commitment to safeguarding the residents and guests of St. Martin is very much appreciated. As Tropical Storm Dorian continues to make its track across the Eastern Caribbean Sea towards the U.S. and British Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico, I would like to wish all persons on those islands faith, strength, and safe passage as they encounter the possible serious effects of this storm. Again, St. Martin, are you ready? Remember, it only takes one hurricane to make it a bad season, so please make sure you are prepared for this hurricane season. I would like to address the screening process. It is the norm that members of the management boards of government-owned companies are screened prior to them being appointed to their function. Members of the supervisory boards of government-owned companies are not normally screened. The fact that the members of the supervisory boards have access to all documents and take decisions together with management, government is of the opinion that it is necessary to have the members of the supervisory boards of government-owned companies also screened. Government has instructed the National Security Services, so VDSM, to change the national decree on designating positions of confidentiality and the execution of security screenings, and to add the screening of members of the Supervisory Board of Government-Owned Companies. This process is a lengthy one. Government decided for now to make changes to mentioned national decree for the screening of the Supervisory Board members of the airport companies. The draft national decree is now at the Council of Advice, and hopefully this regulation can soon go into effect and the screening can take place. Updates from the National Recovery Program Bureau. Within the next 10 days, close to 300 students will be graduating from the Income Support and Training Program of the Trust Fund. To date, nearly 1,200 participants have passed through the training program, 70% of which are women. The program continues to provide much-needed support to participants who seek to bridge the gap to full-time employment by offering courses in the hospitality and construction sectors. I would like to congratulate the students who have made use of the program and have learned new skills that will significantly increase their career opportunities. Last week, materials and equipment that will be used to improve landfill management and fire suppression were delivered to the Ministry of VROMI. The alternative daily cover, or ADC, is a cement-based cover material that prevents door odors and control vectors such as flies and birds and rodents. The consistent application of the ADC will further help to prevent future surfaces fires on the landfill. Also delivered were the silo and applicator machines that will be used to store, mix, and apply the ADC. The NRPB is providing training for the Ministry of VROMI on the use of these new materials and equipment, with both classroom training as well as hands-on practice. With regard to the preparation of the fire suppression activities, we are awaiting the finalization of the environmental and social impact assessment that is currently being conducted. As part of this assessment, an initial public consultation session was held in late June, in which stakeholders expressed concerns on the water quality of the salt pond. These concerns were taken into consideration, and additional study was commissioned by the NRPB. This was done to ensure that all legitimate concerns are taken into account in the design phase of the project. With the finalized assessment, we will be able to move forward onto the next steps with the fire suppression activities. Finally, I would like to commend the NRPB on the launch of their new website. The website provides an overview of the St. Martin Trust Fund, including information on projects under implementation and preparation, available tenders, vacancies, and upcoming events. This is all done in an effort to promote openness and transparency on the recovery process. I hope that with the addition of the website, the public will be kept abreast of the latest developments that have an impact on their well-being and prosperity, as observed by the Daily Herald in a recent editorial. I highly encourage all residents to visit the website at nrpbxxm.org, as well as the NRPB's Facebook account and their social media accounts to be fully informed. The Social Economic Council, represented by the chairman, Mr. Damian Richardson, and the Secretary General, Gerard Richardson, paid a visit to my person as Prime Minister and presented the Joint Migration Symposium report. On October 26, 2018, a cooperation protocol in the field of labor migration and population policy was signed by the Prime Ministers of Aruba, Curacao, and St. Martin. The three Prime Ministers gave their full support and endorsed the initiative of the SER of the three countries to organize a joint symposium on the theme. As a result of the signed protocol, a joint symposium was organized by the SERs of Aruba, Curacao, and St. Martin on May 9th and 10th, 2019 on Curacao. The objective of the joint symposium was to explore, together with stakeholders, policy options with respect to the question how to optimize the benefits and minimize the cost of labor migration in relation to sustainable socioeconomic development of the three countries. Information from the Ministry of Public Health, Social Development, and Labor. The collective preventative services with its stakeholders, namely the American University of the Caribbean, or AUC, and Positive Foundation, will continue the breast abnormalities screening survey. The American University of the Caribbean is the lead research agency. The purpose of the study is to gain insight into the types of abnormalities and prevalence related to breasts and to implement measures for early intervention. The target population are women 18 years and older. The screenings will take place at the Vineyard Office Park in Phillipsburg, where the Ministry of Public Health is located, on September 21st, October 19th, October 26th, November 16th, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. The health screening will check your blood sugar, total cholesterol, waist circumference, blood pressure, height, weight, BMI, vision. The breast exams will be performed by the board-certified AUC physician. We invite you to make an appointment at least 3 days before the event and call the AUC phone number 721-545-2298, extension 404-2242 to make an appointment. I repeat, the number at AUC for the appointment that should be done 3 days before is 721-545-2298, extension 404-2242. On Monday, Parliament accepted the revised Civil Code chapter on labor contracts, as well as two amendments, one introduced by Chair Lady MP Sarah Westcott Williams and the other by MP Tamara Leonard. The modernization of the St. Martin Civil Code is a process that started many years ago. In February of 2016, extensive stakeholder meetings were held with the Labor Tripartite Committee, where representatives of the business, labor unions, and government exchanged views and discussed proposals. This resulted in the consensus document of August 2016. This consensus document contained not only a series of additional changes to the proposed modernized Civil Code, but also a broad framework for fundamental labor reform. The main tripartite consensus points that have now been introduced into the Civil Code are: now, the abuse of short-term contracts will have limitations, and it will be difficult to keep an employee on a series of temporary contracts. The third consecutive contracts will lead to permanent contract if the time between the contracts is 3 months or less. Previously, this would occur on the fourth contract. Any sequence of temporary contracts that spans more than 24 months will result in a permanent contract. Previously, this would occur at 36 months or 3 years. If a worker becomes disabled and is no longer able to do his or her original job, the employer is obligated to find alternative work in as far as possible. The same applies for access to the workplace. Every worker must be provided with their contract in the English language if they wish. Pay slips may be distributed digitally instead of on paper, but only if the employee agrees. These points were introduced by Chair Lady MP Westcott Williams' amendment. Initially, the draft Civil Code would have increased maternity leave from 12 weeks to 14 weeks, in line with the international labor standards. However, the amendment of MP Tamara Leonard extended maternity leave further to 16 weeks. MP Leonard's amendment also formally introduced paternity leave to 7 days, provided the employee is married to the mother or has acknowledged the child. Acceptance of the Civil Code on labor contract with its amendments is only a first step in realizing the goals of the tripartite consensus document. The necessary actions will also be undertaken to have the new stipulations in the Civil Code pertaining to maternity and paternity leave applicable to civil servants. We are looking forward to continuing the discussions with our social partners on the remaining goals as agreed. To this end, a work plan in preparation to map out the future agenda of the tripartite committee. I thank you and I await your questions.
Good morning to the people of St. Martin and the ministers that are present here today. Question to Minister Smith. Minister Smith, recently it was pending that the school safety plan will be in action soon. Can you give us some information on that?
Thank you very much for your question. All schools, as of the end of the previous school year, all schools have prepared school safety plans. They have them, and they can be put into and enforced. They can be enforced as soon as there's a need for that. Right now, we're also asking or sending guidelines to preschools to ask them to prepare their school safety plans, and we expect to receive those also within the course of this year. So the plans are there, and when they need to be activated, they will be activated.
Thank you, Minister Smith. Dimitri Whitfield of the Daily Herald.
Hi, good morning to everyone and the ministers present. My question is to the Finance Minister. Can you please give us an update on the sale of UTS? Has the sale transaction now been finalized, and what's the next step?
Good morning to my colleagues in the press corps. Good morning, St. Martin. Thank you for that question, Mr. Whitfield. The sale of UTS is in closing stages. As a matter of fact, we were aiming to have everything signed by this coming Friday. The Minister of Fiat signed a ministerial decree yesterday that was necessary to kind of inform the buyers that there are no outstanding debts between UTS and our Bureau Telecom and Post. That was still a lengthy process because there was some outstanding debts, but it was not sure if they could be validated, because these are debts that also stems from the Netherlands Antilles transition period to country St. Martin. So that is still being worked out on a technical accounting part of it. On the other hand, the national decree on that was introduced, the initiative law of MP Bryson, to mandate the government to sign for the sale of the shares. That decree still had to go to a legal process as well, and send up to the governor for signing to make it a formal law on the mandate so that we can sign. That is still at the governor. Hopefully we will get it back today or tomorrow. So I'm not sure if we are going to meet the Friday date that we have set between all parties involved. If not, then we are going to probably close it in the first week of September. But we are in the final stages.
Thank you, Minister Heerlings. We now move on to the second round of questions. Lyndon, you have the floor.
Question to the Prime Minister. Prime Minister, you did some deliberation on hurricane preparedness. But you mentioned about a shelter, Prime Minister, And there wasn't much emphasis on food. Like, for instance, areas in case of any hurricane like Irma, that the different district has these shelter, is there collaboration with food in case of any hurricane?
Thank you, Lyndon Brown. Indeed, the EUC members have discussed the stockpiling. I guess that's what your question is, stockpiling, as they do in some other countries. And I do know that ESF 10 is busy with the supermarkets, so the main stores, to secure certain goods for, or in case there is a need for such, for specific items. But yes, that is part of the preparation plans when it comes to food. And then we are also in discussions with the World Food Program to ensure that they too can assist us in certain cases.
Thank you, Prime Minister. I will allow a follow-up.
Prime Minister, what is your most concern right now? I mean, as we speak, there are activities from Hurricane Duran. What will be your main message to the people of St. Martin in regards to hurricane? What is your burning sensation right now about hurricane preparedness?
Well, that's you asked me a loaded question. What is my main concern or my burden right now? Well, for some time now, we have been pushing for the processes to accelerate. So I can state right now, we are the contractor for the repair of the shelters have started the work, I believe, a couple of days ago. We would have loved for that to happen way before, but unfortunately, that was not the case. But I'm still grateful that the process is ongoing now. So the 7 priority shelters will be fixed because that contract has been signed off, and it was in the press maybe about 2 weeks ago. So that is happening now. I would have liked for that to happen before. So those things were that could be secured in a more timely manner. But nevertheless, it will happen. Secondly, I'm concerned about the way information is communicated. Even this morning, it's our jobs to look at, I would say, DCOM and everyone to look at what is being said on social media. I think the public has to be very careful as it relates to disseminating information and make sure that they have the information from the proper entities, so the authorizing entities such as DCOM. So make sure that you go on DCOM website, the government website, or or wait until you hear something. Don't go ahead and make assumptions, because those assumptions can lead to some dangerous things. And we saw what happened when the GB tanks were emptied during Hurricane Irma from a message that went out on social media. Again, I want to re-emphasize what the Minister of Education stated. When the time comes and it needs be, and school needs to be closed, that information will be disseminated. One of the things that I discussed with the Met Department, and I can understand that, when given information on a prognosis on the weather, you deal with different models. So, you know, St. Martin, we use the American TV channel, so more than likely we will look at the US model. And then there are other models that are given by the European technocrats to determine exactly where a storm is going to go. It can only be a prediction. So you're never going to be 100% accurate. The Europeans will give one model, the Americans will give another model. But we still have to rely on our Met Department. When they give us information, how much drops of rain are we going to get? How is the wind going to be? How is the, you know, so we're still reliant on them before we make an informed decision whether to close schools, whether to close businesses, whether to close the government. Based on that information, we then make that decision. It is sometimes difficult when you get information early in the morning and then try to get it out and disseminate it to the public. But nevertheless, I urge the public still to wait on that information because indeed, as the minister indicated, the main goal of the government is to make sure that our children and our people are safe. So we will not make an uninformed decision. The weather can be funny at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, but by 7 or 8, it has cleared up. So just wait for the information. So that is one of the dilemmas that any government would face because you cannot determine for Mother Nature. You just have to wait for information and then make a sound decision based on the prognosis given by the Met Department. Thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Dimitri, you have the floor.
Yes, my question is to the Prime Minister. What steps now need to be taken before the changes to the Civil Code that were recently approved actually go into effect? What's the timeline when can persons expected to be enacted?
Indeed, so it was passed in Parliament. From there, I believe it's going to go, they're going to make an NTEX that's going to come back to the government. From there, it goes to the governor. From the governor, it goes to, I think, back to us. Then it has to get published. It will be vetted also too by, in between that time, it will be vetted by the ombudsman. So it's going to take a little bit more time, but we will get there. At least it has been passed.
Thank you, Prime Minister. I will allow a follow-up.
Do you have any estimated timeline? Would it be January or not? Neither?
Timeline I can't give you, but it does take a couple of months.
Thank you, Prime Minister. We now move on to the third round of questions. Lyndon, you have the floor.
Question to the Minister of Education. Minister of Education, there was 5 children that passed their CSEC with flying colors. Is your concern recognizing these 5 students that did so well? Do you have any plan to highlight them in that category?
Well, thank you very much. If you had checked our Facebook page, the ministry's Facebook page, they were highlighted on the Facebook page. And of course, we want to extend congratulations to them and wish them all the best. We're very, very pleased to see that our students, are excelling so well. And compared to other children in the region, St. Martin does just as well or even better. And we just want to make sure that our children continue to excel in their studies.
Thank you, Minister Smith. Dimitri, you have the final question.
My final question is to the Minister of Education. Can you tell us the latest at Academy PSVE? Whether you have been recently updated by the board on the specific measures that will be taken to combat the lower subsidy it is receiving as a result of lower student enrollment, and what are these measures?
Thank you very much. As you know, the St. Martin Academy, the Foundation for Academic and Vocational Education, is a school board. School boards are entities that operate on their own. The Ministry of Education is concerned about the quality of education. I did ask for an update from the school board. We have not received that yet, so I wouldn't be able to give you any details as to what measures the school is taking. We, as Ministry of Education, Culture, Youth and Sport, will continue to do what we have to do, ensuring that the subsidy is granted based on the criteria and the conditions that are stipulated in the ordinance that was passed a couple of months ago. So once we get the information from the school board, we will be able to determine the amount of subsidy that they would be getting for the school year.
Thank you, Minister Smith. Honorable Ministers of the Council, members of the media, radio listeners, and online viewers, this brings us to the end of the Live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, August 28th, 2019. For rebroadcast, tune in at 7 p.m. on St. Martin Cable TV. For video on demand, log on to the official government's website at stmartingov.org. On behalf of the Department of Communication, I am Rolika Roach and wishing you a pleasant day further.